When you're standing in the kitchen wondering whether a fully automatic espresso machine is worth the counter space and the price tag, the first thought is usually, will it actually make coffee I'll drink every day, or will it just sit there gathering dust? I get that hesitation, especially when you've probably seen a lot of glossy ads promising barista-level drinks at the push of a button. In this review, I'm going to walk through what it's really like to own the KitchenAid KF8, talk about the moments where it shines and where it trips up, and help you decide if it's the right fit for your routine. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. Let's start with the basics of the category. A fully automatic espresso machine is supposed to take the guesswork out of grinding, dosing, tamping, and steaming. In theory, you just load beans, add water, press a button, and a latte appears. The reality, though, is that each brand has its own way of handling grind size, water temperature stability, and milk frothing. That's why the real-world part of any review matters more than the headline specs. KitchenAid is a name many of us trust from mixers, so you expect a certain level of durability, but the Espresso line is a newer extension of that heritage, and it brings a mix of pros and cons that are worth unpacking. First, the day-to-day setup. Unboxing the KF8 feels like opening a small appliance showroom. The porcelain white body sits on a sturdy metal-clad frame, and the machine itself is heavier than a typical countertop coffee maker, which is a good sign if you're looking for something that won't wobble. The bean hopper is removable, you twist it off, lift it out, and you can refill it without having to tilt the whole unit. That design choice is actually pretty convenient for anyone who likes to keep a variety of beans on hand, because you can swap a light roast for a dark one in seconds. The water tank, on the other hand, is a bit tucked under the front, so you have to pull the machine forward a little to fill it. It's not a deal breaker, but it does add a small extra step if you're refilling multiple times a day. What really matters is how the machine performs when you hit one of those 40+ recipe buttons. I tested the espresso, Americano, cappuccino, and a plant-based milk latte over a couple of weeks. The first thing I noticed is consistency. Because the grind is handled internally by the built-in conical burr grinder, each shot comes out with a similar dose and extraction time. That consistency is something you often have to chase manually with a semi-automatic machine. The espresso itself has a decent body, a thin layer of crema, and a flavor profile that matches the beans I used, not overly bitter, not overly watery. For a casual drinker who wants a reliable cup without fiddling with grind settings each morning, that's a big win. Now, the milk system. KitchenAid includes a stainless steel milk container that you can fill with whole milk, skim, or plant milks like oat or almond. The machine froths directly from that container, and the froth is fairly smooth for both dairy and plant options. I tried a classic cappuccino with whole milk and a latte with oat milk. The dairy foam held its shape a bit longer, while the oat milk produced a lighter, more airy foam that still tasted good in the cup. The catch here is that the container holds only about 200 milliliters, so if you're making 2 drinks in a row you'll need to pause and refill. That limitation is something to keep in mind if you entertain often or have a family of coffee lovers. One of the practical strengths of the KF8 is the Clean Me indicator. After a certain number of brew cycles, a light pops on to remind you that the machine needs a cleaning cycle. The reminder is useful because neglecting the internal cleaning can quickly degrade taste. KitchenAid provides a descaling solution in the box, and the process is straightforward. You pour the solution into the water tank, run a cleaning program, and the machine flushes it out. The indicator is not a perfect metric, it can be a bit early or late depending on water hardness, but it's better than having to guess when the machine is getting clogged. On the flip side, there are a few hidden trade-offs that become apparent after the first month of use. The first is the noise level. The built-in grinder is louder than a typical drip coffee maker. It's audible across an open floor plan, which might be a consideration if your kitchen is adjacent to a bedroom or a home office. The second is the temperature stability for larger drinks. While the espresso shot itself reaches the optimal temperature, the water used for an Americano or a hot water dispense can feel a few degrees cooler than you'd expect from a dedicated hot water dispenser. If you rely on the machine for hot water for tea or other beverages, you might notice a slight dip in heat. Another